I didn't do a single post, reel, or carousel for 30 days on Instagram, and I'm about to share exactly what happened in my business because of that. Trust me, if you're someone who you're in the position right now where you're wondering if Instagram is the place for you or you're getting burnt out by social media, this video is for you. I tracked exactly what I did, what happened, and I want to share some of the results with you because it's actually not what I expected. I'm Jody Ann, and I run a digital marketing agency where I work with small business owners, showing them how to get found online and mostly through search without doing social media 24/7 and getting burned out. And one of the things I really needed to do was that I needed to start drinking my own Kool-Aid. I was telling people, you really do need to focus on search. And yes, social is important, but search is more long-term and you can get more long-term benefits. But I was teaching that and I wasn't practicing it because I was also doing both. I decided for 30 days I was going to actually live exactly what I was preaching and stop Instagram. Now, that meant no posting, no engagement, no DMs. I was still scrolling the Explorer page and looking at memes and stuff, but nothing related to my business. I kept track of the numbers, the stats, the mindset, how I felt in the moment, and I'm so excited to share the results with you. Here's the most important part, actually the most surprising part of it all, is that I actually made more money that month than I did the month prior when I was still engaging on Instagram. And I'm going to break down how. The first thing I want to honestly look at is why I decided to take a break from Instagram. Now, social media is something that I'm more or less on the fence with, in that I can do it or I cannot do it. But for me, social media is something where I like social media to feel personal and to feel like me. So it's like one of the one single piece of my business that I've not been able to outsource because I always need to have a connection to the people and to doing the work. At least that's how I've always felt, right? And I've tried working with other social media agencies or just a social media manager in the past, and it never really worked out because what I ended up getting ultimately were people that were creating more generic content. And sometimes I like to just get up, I feel a certain way, I'm having an emotion that day, or maybe I'm just thinking about something in the past, and I will use that for a social media post. Now, it's very hard for me to ask a social media manager to do that because they're posting for my business. And yes, I can share personal stories and experiences that can inform the content, but it won't ever be as deep as if I was doing it myself. Now, granted, that doesn't mean that you don't need to hire one. If you can get one that can do that, or if you look at social media differently than I do, then it's definitely worth it. But for me at the time, it wasn't. And I was on the hamster wheel of doing Instagram while running my business. I have run a marketing agency, so I'm managing a team of people, and it was getting very overwhelming, especially because the amount of time it was taking me to do social media, I was not seeing the ROI. At the end of the day, when I was looking at all my analytics, a lot of my clients were not coming from social media, and mainly Instagram, because that's the main social media that I use. Everything else, I just do a repost to Facebook, and YouTube and Pinterest are not social media platforms, they're search engines. Now, over the last year or so, one of the things I also noticed was that my engagement on social media, like the engagement from people who are following me, was dropping significantly. This seems to be across the board. There are so many other business owners I speak to who were complaining about the same thing. Everyone was wondering, what's going on with the algorithm? Do I need to do more reels? Do I need to do more carousel? Do I need to post more times per day? I was getting very much caught up in the same mindset. And then ultimately I decided, what if I just stopped? I'm not going to stop permanently, but let me just stop for 30 days and see what happens. And so this is how the experimentation happened. Here are some of the metrics that I decided to track. I decided to track my website traffic. So the amount of traffic coming to my website before I stopped as well as after. The amount of leads I got, so leads in terms of signing up for my newsletter or just signing up for free lead magnets on my website. I also track the number of book consultation that I received as well as actual bookings. So how all of that led to booked clients. Now let's look at what actually decreased. Of course, this was expected. So my engagement on social media dropped, but it was already dropping, so I wasn't too worried about that. The number of DMs I received dropped, the number of comments, likes, and all of that, of course, went down. Not surprising, but expected is the number of referrals from social media. So those are people that weren't just on my social media platform or just messaging me, but also were clicking out to the link in my profile to my website and other places to connect with me. That went down. Now, these were all expected because, as I said, I stopped using social media. But let's look at what actually went up. So this is the surprising piece. Without social media, I will say that I actually had more time because I was doing my social media myself. I find it was taking me hours to create content, and I love to batch content. I'm the kind of person, I don't like to do content on the go or to be doing posts day by day. I like to batch my content and then just schedule and release them over time. So that batching day of just coming up with content ideas and then creating the content or recording clips or doing B-rolls, all of that day went away. So I saved that time. Now, with that saved time, I now had more time to focus on other things. So I could do more actually client outreach more directly. I could do more newsletters I could write. I could work on more blog posts with my team. So if I say to my team, okay, this month instead of 5 blog posts, I want you guys to do 10. But at the end of those 10, I do a lot of reviews. So now I have 10 blog posts to review and I had more time to do it. So here are the things that were impacted because of that. Our traffic from Google increased. Our traffic from our Google business profile increased. The amount of referrals I got from Pinterest and YouTube went up. Now, I don't even know how that was impacted. Google, I expected because we were doing more blogs. And of course, we also pin our blogs. So I could see how the pinned blogs led to more traffic from Pinterest. I was actually doing less videos on YouTube's at the time because we were just working through a lot more client work. So I didn't have a ton of time to record. But YouTube also increased, which was surprising. I think that one was a fluke. My biggest takeaway from this overall, though, is that I find that my leads from search-based platforms are higher quality leads. In fact, a lot of time when someone messages me through Instagram, they've often found me on another platform, but just came to Instagram to validate or just to verify that I was a real person. So often they'll find me on YouTube, let's say, and then they'll come and check out Instagram to see if I'm there and to be able to send me a direct message. But they didn't find me on that platform initially. So my engagement on other places were still high and was still going up. Now, my overall lead quality went up, but I found that's because we were focusing on search-based platform. Because most of our leads from search-based platforms tend to be higher quality even before we stop social media. But that's because I find a lot of people will find me on the search platforms already, like I said, and they'll follow me, they'll pay attention to my content, and then make a decision to reach out. Whereas for Instagram, for the few people that found me on Instagram before they find me on other platforms, often I find they were looking for more free resources like a lead magnet they could sign up for and learn from me in that way. So the quality of leads also went up in this time. The big piece that was mostly unexpected was my revenue. Even with all the information that I had, even looking at my analytics and knowing that most of our leads and most of our quality leads weren't coming from social media, I was still hesitant to actually stop doing social media. And at the time when I stopped, and this I will say, I don't know if I can attribute it completely to pausing social media, but the amount of revenue we brought in that month increased as well. And that's from the quality of leads. Was that directly related to social media? That piece I can't say, but for sure it is related to the fact that a lot of the other platforms, our leads increased, the amount of consultation we saw, and the booked revenue also increased. But that could have happened even if we were still doing social media, maybe. But the amount of time that we took away from social media and put into the other platforms increased, and hence so did our revenue. Now, here's some of the things that I learned that you can take away and apply to your business. One of the first things I learned is that most of my leads does not come from social media. In fact, as I said earlier, most of my quality leads do not come from social media. This also reinforced for me that social media is just one marketing tool. It's not the be all and end all of all the marketing strategies available to you. In fact, I saw better retention and just better engagement from the long-term search-based platforms. So those are your search engines, so just focusing on SEO, Google Business Profile, Pinterest, YouTube. Those had better quality leads and led to higher revenue growth than social media. The other thing that I learned from this too is that social media is a constant hamster wheel, but the content goes a lot faster than platforms like YouTube. So for YouTube, I was still generating leads from videos I did 5 years ago. Whereas on Instagram, the minute I stopped Instagram for 30 days, my leads and the amount of engagement I saw stopped completely. Think about when you're marketing your business, what are the things that you need to happen all the time? Clients will ask me, should I do social media or should I do SEO? I don't think it's a one or the other. You have to base it on you and your business. How much time do you have available to you? For example, if you're someone that don't have a lot of time, you have a family that you have to manage, you have a full-time job, you're doing this as a side hustle, and you have so many other priorities that you're juggling, then maybe your best strategy is more of the long-term marketing strategies, such as SEO, YouTube, Pinterest, and a lot of the search-based marketing. But if you're someone who maybe you really like the engagement on social media, or you have no problem pumping out Instagram posts very quickly to keep up with the algorithm, then social media is also a good strategy. Now, if you have the time and resources, I recommend doing both because social media gives you short-term engagement and very quick engagement, and then the other piece is your long-term engagement. But paired together, they're a really good marketing strategy. But I say you always do need the long-term one because it's longer lasting, you get higher quality, and you get a better ROI ultimately. Now, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to drop them below. And if you're in the place where you're ready to build a business that doesn't rely on you being on social media 24/7, doing 4 posts every day and keeping up with algorithm changes and trends, definitely sign up for my free lead generation audit where I will look at your business to see where you're losing traffic and leads and how you can fix it.